Hey everybody, it is February 3rd, Monday. It's beautiful here in Marietta, Georgia. Um, can't wait. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'll take my dogs to our lagoon that we have, a little creek that sort of bubbles up where two creeks meet. Oh, it's really nice. But anyways, right now we're working through things, and one of the things that I need to do. So as I mentioned in the last video, we kind of have these concepts: camera, geometry, material, mesh, renderer, and scene. And there will actually be another one where it is going to be a group, group is something. It's a concept that I'm not familiar with in ThreeJS, but I have like I'm assuming that it's you know making things together, and then multiple things together, and then maybe the way that they're positioning and stuff like that works might be different, and the way things get rotated, a whole group gets rotated. I'm sure there's just lots of really neat things that we're going to learn when we get there. So one of the things we need to do, we're sort of linearly working through things as best we can because there's just a lot of things that need to be done kind of at the same time. So it's always hard to figure out exactly which piece to do when. And at this point, we're to the point where we want to create an actual scene, an actual ThreeJS scene. And one of the things that sort of innovations that we had was in the uh, in the interfaces, we started adding uh, references to its Three.js counterpart. Um, so I'm going to do that now. I thought I was going to need to wait, but actually, since it's optional, it can be later. It can be now. Now, one of the things that I do know that I'm going to need to add is a name, right? Because names can be really, really helpful for filtering and things like that. But anyway, so a scene has a three scene, and that is of type three. And I believe and it's so funny, it always does that. Scene. I think it's a capital. And I don't think I want commas there. I think that's something that, I don't know. I have this random generator. 1 in 3 times I'll put a comma there. 1 in 3 times I'll put a semicolon there. And 1 in 3 times I won't put anything there. Um, but so I'm going to see if I can do this from memory. I think I've successfully done it the last uh, few times. So I'm going to import star as three, all caps, from three. Thank you, Rhett. I think that worked. And now, see if, yeah, I thought it was a capital. See, it would have been unusual for it not to be. All right, so now, and then that needs to be optional. All right, so now let's create our three scene object. So we have our ST section, our three section. So basically, I think it's going to be very similar to the renderer. It's kind of similar to the um, camera, but the camera actually needs a lot of information just to get started. So basically, we first thing we do is I guess we know we're going to be doing this, and I guess we don't need this inject up here. So let's just go ahead and take care of that while we're here. So save that. Now, let's go ahead and import our three here, which I have been able to do from memory, but and now let's go to renderer. We're going to want a dictionary. So this is basically a lookup based on the ID that gets generated. Um, and I love you too, Rhett. Woohoo! Rhett's actually been in a very good mood today. I think she actually prefers weekdays to weekends because me and my wife kind of go out and about a lot, and so we're home more during the weekdays. And then my daughter-in-law comes over and she brings over her dogs, and they love coming over here because we have like a fenced in backyard and stuff like that. So they come over here and they play with my dogs, and it's kind of fun. Um, Scene ID. Make this new 3. I don't know. I don't think you have to do anything with the scene. I think like literally you could just do that. But let's go ahead and just double check that in. I know we created a scene in the app. So yeah, that's all you do. So that's good. Um, and like I didn't know that. Like I've learned that since working on this. So you work with things and you spend time, you practice, and then you get to where you can just do stuff. Um, and that's just kind of the point to practicing. Um, we know that this is going to return a scene. We know that we want to kind of force it, so const scene, which is a 3 dot scene is equal to this dot scene dict ID, and then we're going to return our scene. And I don't think we have any need to do anything like that, like rendering in here. So that's fun. That's a nice piece of the puzzle to have done. So now let's go to our ST side and update that. So we're going to do something along these lines. This dot scene service dot create scene, and we are going to give it our scene ID that we generated over here. So it actually took a while to kind of get to this where, at first I was creating the scene ID or the IDs, the specific IDs over on the 3 side, and then I moved it over, and it's just been, it's been a journey, as the kids today like to say. So now we have our scene service. So now we want to actually create our scene. So we have our scene here already. So I guess we just want to update our scene. There's no reason not to just update the scene. Oop. st scene dot is equal to this dot scene service dot get scene by ID and scene ID. And then, so now, and as you can see, that was just a lot easier because there's just not much to it. And we did go a little different pattern, and I think it makes sense to go a little different pattern sometimes, just to try stuff out, make sure that, just how are you ever going to get improved if you don't try different things out. st scene dict scene ID is equal to st scene. So now that we have our nice little thing that just generates a scene and for us and gets an object and returns a scene ID, and if we want it, we can just give this thing back the scene ID. So this is where all of our things that we have on our side to describe. There's not much we can do with the scene right now. There are a few things you can do in ThreeJS with scenes, like I believe you set the fog in the scene and things like that, and we'll add things like that, and everything like it'll be like set fog by scene ID or something like that. You know, like everything will be driven around this scene ID. Um, so now I think the next step is to go into our viz component. And you know, like the viz component, I was like, what is the viz even going to do? But it's the only one that knows what the native element is and when the native element is ready to roll. Um, so in the app, I can't remember, like, I think, what the steps are. I think that, so you append the child. Yeah, so you append the child, but then here in our animation is the first time that we actually render our scene. And when we render the scene, yeah, we get our render. We access our renderer directly, but um, we don't do that. So I probably want to add like a function in our three renderer that renders, and it will accept three things. It'll accept a scene. I get. Does it? I think all it needs to accept is the ID and the ST renderer, because the ST renderer has. So, okay, so where I'm struggling is, okay, so do I want logic, the intelligence to pull together? I think, okay, I think the ST renderer needs to have a function that renders, because I think I want the intelligence of knowing where the three renderer and three um, scene live, where they're housed, should be in the ST side. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that's what we want. So we want like this: render scene by ID, not render ST render by ID. I am not sure. I'm not sure. Okay, so the renderer, it actually knows what the current ST. I don't think this would return anything. Would. Oh, I haven't even been watching my. So it looks like my volume looks pretty good. Um, Rhett is definitely testing it, um, but it looks like we're pretty good. So I don't know. This whole volume thing is very mysterious to me. I don't know why it changed. Why I suddenly, like, I could not get loud for the life of me. I was turning everything up, turning everything I had up, and everything was still coming in soft. And now it comes in really loud. And I have seen other like sort of do-it-yourself sort of content creator people like me have just like their videos will suddenly get super loud. And it's just like, I don't know what this guy's problem is. And yeah, I mean, I still don't know what people's problems are when their videos are really loud, but I have a lot more empathy for them. But anyway, so this is going to render. This is going to be what is called to render a thing. But I don't think I have in my render service at the 3. I don't have a render. It takes an ID, a scene, and a camera. Okay, so I do have this. So yeah, so I want to call renderer, and my 3 rendering now knows enough information. So let's just, for our own sanity, get our 3 scene here. I'm going to call it a 3 scene, and that can come from our let's see. Oh, we want to get it from our dictionary. Okay, so I hope it's clear, super duper clear that this, you know what? I don't even care because it const. This is our renderer, st renderer. And that is what this is. Hey, rat. Renderer. And this is an st renderer. Okay, so now our scene, we can get our 3 scene, which is going to be a 3 dot scene. We can get that from our renderer, which we named st renderer. And it has a st scene, and it has a 3 scene. Now, it's going to, yeah, we're going to have an issue here. Because it's like, hey, it's possible. This isn't a required field. It's possible that it could be undefined. Now, I'm not sure what the best way to deal with this is, and I think the best way to deal with this will present itself in the future. But for now, I'm just going to say as undefined as 3 dot scene. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just oh, it's unknown, unknown. As unknown as 3C. Now I don't know if we need to have the as unknown there. So let's. No, okay. So basically, I'm just forcing it. I'm just saying, hey, trust me, it's right. I don't think that's ever going to be a problem. If it is going to be a problem, like if I was doing this professionally, I would definitely put like an if statement there. But I'm not doing this professionally. I'm doing this, and a lot of major motivation to doing this is to learn. And the only way you're ever going to really learn why not to do something is to do it and find out what happened, what the consequences are. But it's not a good idea to do that at your actual job. So this is a great opportunity to just do this because I think it's going to be fine. I don't think there's ever going to be a problem. But maybe, maybe when we set up imports, when we set up other things, I might be like, oh, okay, no, I need to check this. I have a specific reason that I need to check to see if it exists. But see, then I would want to find out then, because crafting the best solution would be easier to craft when I see the actual problem. Like if I just throw out some exception or something like that, or swallow it, it doesn't do any good. So const 3 camera. st camera dot 3 camera as 3 dot camera. And then we want to take our this dot scene renderer service. See, and I'm already starting to get used to just knowing that if it doesn't have st in front of it, it's the 3. And maybe when there's a physics engine, it'll be ph. But render service dot renderer, and it accepts. And if I mouse over, I think it'll tell me what it accepts. The ID. So I'm guessing that's the st renderer. Oh, I have an ID. It was passed in. ID plus it also gets a scene. So and 3 camera. And I misspelled 3. And what's your problem? What is your problem?
I love you.
Ah, so it's got to be a perspective camera.
Love you. I love you.
So at some point, I'm going to implement the other camera, the orthogonic, something. I think it's an orthographic camera. All right. So I was kind of hoping that after. So I don't think we are actually rendering it though. So we just built out everything so that it could render it. And that would be, I believe, inside of our viz. So at this point, we have done that. So this dot st render render. What did I call it? st render render ID. All right. Go to definition.
I love you, Red.
No, I don't want to go to that definition. I want to go to the render service.
You ready? You ready?
st render service dot render by ID and give it our render ID. Oops.
Love you.
This dot render ID. I don't know what's gonna happen. Don't know. So it's kind of expecting the canvas to be like populated. And I don't know why it didn't get populated. Let's see. So we do have a console log right there. So let's go ahead and look at that. Oh, cannot read undefined.
I love you.
All right, so let's reload and see what happens when we get here. So scene is undefined and camera exists. So one thing that's neat is you can go in here and you can go back. So this is render by ID. So I don't know if the problem is here. So the 3 scene may be a problem. So let's let this thing run out and reload. So 3 scene is undefined. st scene does not have anything in it. So, and I don't think I ever did the get the base scene. Okay, so I think I might have skipped a step. So create base scene was supposed to return a number, and I don't think I ever call create base scene in here. I think what I was doing was nothing. I wasn't doing any kind of. So we create our render. I don't think it doesn't look like. Oh, okay. Because so I needed to update the renderer service the st renderer service. I should be creating, instead of creating, yeah, so I never did this two lines. So I never circled all the way back around
Matter.
to here for these two lines. So st scene ID create scene service. It doesn't look like I'm ever injecting my scene service, so let's go ahead and do that. And I guess I should do it up here with the camera service. And I mean, one thing that I would say is that I think that if a sign that you're probably on the right path with your architecture is when it sort of enforces itself, like it just did. Like I could not, like I was totally violating the whole concept of the um, the way I wanted things done. Was I wanted it to sort of, you create the base stuff and everything kind of just generates, and then I violated that, and it seems like it kind of it forced me to do it right, and I think that's what you want. That's what you hope for. Create the base scene, and then we're gonna get our scene. I don't even know if I need this. Another thing I feel really good about it is, well, I did get into sort of a very deep hole of confusion there for a second. It was very short lived, and that's nice too. Is that there was a lot of, seems to be a lot of clarity. All right, I don't know what's gonna happen because I think when I get my base. So do I have a scene? Yes, I have a scene. I have a camera. Let's go ahead and get rid of this debug. I think we have another one. Oh, okay, good. So I didn't really, I really didn't consider that you wouldn't be able to see it, but there it is. Um, so there are no, the problem is at this point is that there are no meshes in there. And so I do think that that's probably the next thing to do, is set up the mesh, which automatically forces us to set up the geometry. And there's another part, right? There's the geometry and the material. Yeah. So basically, yeah, those are the next things, is to basically go through this whole process again, um, but for mesh. And I will say that I thought like the amount of rework that was necessary was really low. I think that there's one thing on the horizons that I might have to try to figure out, um, and that's this native element. Like, should I store the native element on this render view child, and then we render DOM element. Um, I don't think I'm not using this line of code. Just double check that by deleting it. So everything seems to be good. Um, yeah, and then sort of like, yeah, in the renderer, I think we're going to need to be able to set the size by ID and stuff like that. Like it looks like there's a little bit more work that needs to be done here. Um, I shouldn't, this definitely should be inside of the renderer service, right? I should have a set size renderer service that then knows how to talk to the inside of the ST renderer service that then knows how to talk, and then the native element. I don't think probably append child. Well, okay, so yeah, I guess the native element probably needs to live on this ST visualization object here, which I'm not really doing much with. So that like is sort of icky right now. And then yeah, yeah, that's very icky right now. Exactly how that's going to work is not it's not clear to me. But there have been a lot of things that weren't clear to me. I could tell you that right now that I feel way more comfortable now doing the mesh, the geometry, and the material than I did before we started like the scene, and I have a million times more before we started the camera, and a gazillion times more before we started the renderer. So, sort of, it's kind of like I guess if you were trying to like, just as we build more and more foundational pieces, the proper place to do things is becoming easier and easier to divine. Um, so yeah, so I feel pretty good about that. We definitely did a step forward. It's unfortunately you can't really see it um, because it's black, so it's sitting there. Um, but it'll be cool once we get the geometry and the material done. But we'll just have like a saw. It won't be animated, and then we'll have to probably the best thing to do at that'll be the very 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 best time to build the code that is going to have all of the default values, um, which should be pretty straightforward, but it'll be very easy at that point in time. The farther we go, that'll be the moment where it'll be the most easy, where most of these values will make the most sense to me and all that. And then as soon as that's done, then getting the animation working will probably be the next best thing to do. And then uh, I guess probably I don't know. I don't know if that would be a good place to like sort of well, I guess that'll be a good time then to build out the uh, more end-to-end tests, and then the unit do basically build out more unit tests for all these pieces while this is still fresh, and then it'll be decision time. Like, should I call that like a win and say, okay, getting started is done, or maybe I should like sort of add like one button to this upper right here where you click it and it adds another one. So then we have two of them side by side, and then clicks another one and you get three of them side to side or something. Um, and then you can add them and stuff like that, just so that it'll be cool looking. Um, and then I guess if I would do that, then it would make sense to just delete all the code that's sitting in the animations or in the app itself. And once that's done, you know, I guess that would be a really, really good place to say, okay, getting started part is done. Um, I did sort of toy around with the idea of maybe making it like randomly have different sizes and all that every time you push the button, just so we'd have like cool visuals, especially during the end-to-end testing. But maybe I'll do that. That'll probably make a lot of sense to do that then, because that'll probably be our last chance to make really cool end-to-end tests for a little while. Because the next round, it'll be more foundational things. Probably, yeah, probably like a way to edit and stuff like that, and that's going to take a while before that bears any fruit. Um, So, anyways, yeah, I think this is coming along nicely. I wish it was a little bit more visually appealing. I'm glad we got that obnoxious white square out of the way, and it's gonna be a lot cooler when we have that a little version of this spinning around sort of next to it. And I think that they will be synchronized. I think they'll be exactly the same, um, because of the way the animations is like sort of done. But yeah, here we go. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.